Hello, this is Abebe from University of Gondar Faculty of Informatics, and then this is the Fundamentals of Programming with C++ tutorial, and then this is our first tutorial. So we are going to discuss about the structure of C++ program, and then how we can write our first simple program that will display welcome or on the screen or hello world on the screen. But before we directly go to the practical session on how to create our first program, let's have a look at what exactly the C++ program structure looks like. So basically in this tutorial, these are the points that we are going to cover. So the first thing is we need to have a look at the structure of a C++ program. So what are the basic components that we should incorporate whenever we write a simple or a very complex program? So every C++ program has its own structure, so we need to have a look at those structure. And then the other important point that we are going to see is about what is the software that will help us to write the C++ program. So the software that we are going to use is CodeBlock. CodeBlock is a software that we are going to use to write the program. So basically CodeBlock is an IDE, where IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, that will help us to write the C++ program. But the CodeBlock itself doesn't allow us to execute the program. Parallel to the CodeBlock, we have to make sure that we install the C++ compiler. So this is a compiler that we are going to install is GCC, what we call it the GNU compiler collection. The GNU compiler collection. So this is the compiler that will execute the C++ program, whereas CodeBlock is an IDE that will help us to write the C++ program. But we're not going to install the CodeBlock and GCC one by one, because CodeBlock has already the GCC by itself. So when we install the CodeBlock, the GCC will be automatically installed. So let's have a look at our first C++ program that will simply display welcome on the screen. Okay, so by doing that we can discuss about the basic structure of every C++ program. So let's see how we can start our program. So this is the software that we are going to use to write the program, what we call it the IDE, the CodeBlock. So these are the screen elements, so we will see in detail about those different components when we write the program. So always, to create a new program, first we have to go to File, New, MPT file, one way, or you can directly click on this icon with the plus symbol. It will create a new file, MPT file. So we just create one MPT file, okay, like this, and then we are ready to write the program. But before you write even a single code of C++ program, you have to make sure that you save the program. So to save the program, you can go to File and then Save. So when you save the program, you need to know two things: where to save the file, and then what is the name of the file name. So let's save the file on the desktop. Here, and then the file name can be, for example, if the program is welcome, I can give welcome, and then you have to make sure that end with a .cpp extension. You can give whatever name you want before the dot, you can give whatever name you want, but usually name should be descriptive. It should describe what that program is going to perform, is going to do. For example, I am going to write a program which display the word welcome on the screen, so it's better to give the name welcome. But the very important point is after the dot. After the dot is the extension name. So every C++ program must have an extension of .cpp. That's why always when you save the file, you have to make sure that you have to add a dot followed by cpp. So you are just telling the compiler that this is a C++ program. Okay, let's save, and then let's see how we can write our program. So let me show you the structure, and then we'll discuss on the structure. So every C++ program must have the following structure. Whether you write a simple program or a complex program, every program must contain the following structure. So we have to start with dash include iostream using namespace std, the main function, and then finally return 0. So this is the structure of every C++ program. If you are asked to write a program to display welcome on the screen, or to calculate the factorial of a number, or whatever you call it, whether you write a simple or a very complex program, these are the common code, the common structure that you should use for every C++ program. So basically, hash include is a preprocessor directive telling the compiler to include the file iostream. So basically, this iostream file, we call it the header file. So why we need to include iostream in our program is very much important question. The program, every program as a program, it should display one output to the user, and then to display that output we are going to use a C++ predefined function called cout. So cout is a function that will help us to display output to the user, and then to use cout we have to tell the compiler that to include iostream.html file, because iostream.html file is a file which contains a declaration and definition of input and output streams, which is the cin and cout function. So if you want to use cin and cout function in your program, you have to make sure that you include iostream.html file. So since every program must have one output, and then to use that output you need to use cout, and then to use cout we have to include iostream header file. And then this is just telling the compiler to use all the C++ basic standards. And then every program as a program, it must have one function. That function is a main function, and that is where the compiler will start its execution. Okay, so this is the bracket, we call it the block. So this is the body of the program that we're going to write. Okay, so if you want to write the word C++ on the screen, you have to tell the compiler to do that in between this bracket. So this bracket, we call it block or body of a C++ program. So you are going to write lots of statements or a group of statements inside here. To display welcome, you have to write a statement in here. To display the factorial of a given number, you have to write in here. So these are the block that will help us to write our statements, C++ statements. And then finally in here it says return 0. So this is just telling the C++ to stop the execution. So this is just a way of telling the C++ that this is the end of the program. Okay, so as I told you before, if you want to display any output on the user, you have to use the cout statement. So this is a predefined function that will tell the compiler to display output to the user, and then to use this C++ function we just include iostream header file, because this is a file which contains the declaration, definition, structure of this cout and cin function. So if you want to display welcome on the screen, so welcome is just a text or a string. So always if you want to display string or text to the user, you have to make sure that you put it in between the quotation. So quotation is telling the compiler that display everything inside the quotation. For example, welcome, end of the quotation, semicolon. Later on in the class we are going to discuss about the different statements. So basically in C++ there are 5 statements, and then when you use those statements you must end with a semicolon. So this is a cout statement telling the compiler to display the word welcome, and then finally if that is the end you have to add a semicolon. So semicolon has special meaning in C++, that this is the end of the statement. So this is a very simple first program that will display the word welcome on the screen. Let's see. So to check whether our program is error free or not, we are going to use this one, build, or you can go to build and then click on the build. If there is nothing happens, everything is going well. For example, here every statement must end with a semicolon. If you forget to add a semicolon, let's say when you just click on build, a red flag will appear, so meaning there is a problem. So to see what exactly this flag means, we can go to view, to display the detail of the error, you can go to view and then click on log. Okay, when you just click on the log, okay, when you just click on the log, and here see expected semicolon is missing. Before the return statement there is a missing of semicolon. Okay, so that we add a semicolon right here. So let's try to compile it again. Build. Do you see here everything is going well, there is no error, there is no warning, and then we're ready to go. So compiling means building, or compiling means checking whether our program is error free or not. If it is error free, we can see the output by go to build and then click on run. So when we click on run, automatically we'll get the output right here. See, we just get the output welcome on the screen. So this is a very simple program that will display the word welcome on the screen. As I told you before, the purpose of return 0 is to tell the compiler to stop the execution. If you do anything after the return 0, it won't be executed. For example, let's say welcome, say out, welcome again. Let's say project build, our program is error free. When we try to run the program, we will get the same output, welcome. It will not execute the second statement, the welcome again, because we just write the second statement after the return 0. So any code that you add after the return 0 will not be executed, because the return 0 will tell the compiler to stop the execution. Just a way of telling that this is the end of the program. So don't do anything after the return statement, because that will not be a part of the program. But if you want to display the second output, for example, welcome again, you have to modify the program in such a way that, okay, to do that, for example, we have to move the code before the return 0. Now we have to get the same output. Okay, so if you want to build it this way, or clicking on the icon, it is also possible. Build, no error, run. See, now see welcome and then welcome again. But as you see here, they display the output on the same line. But if you want to display the output on a different line, we have to tell the compiler that is to display each output on a new line. So the first welcome, and then add an output operator, and then type endl. Endl is another keyword in C++ to tell that this is the end of the output, end of line ማለት ነው. So this means the end of line. So here cout welcome and then end of line, meaning display the word welcome and then display the next output in a new line. The same sort of for the next output. Okay, now let's compile and run again. Okay, compile and run. See, now we just get the two outputs, welcome, the output of this one, welcome again, the output of this one. So this is the first C++ program which display the word welcome on the screen. So in this tutorial, what you need to know is the structure of every C++ program. So every C++ program must include IOStream.h to use input-output streams, in and out, and then you have to use you have to use this statement to tell the C++ to use all the C++ standards. Every C++ program must have a main method to start the execution, and then every function must have this block. So this is what we call it block or body of the program. So in between this block, we are going to add lots of statements to perform the operations. Okay, so this is the first C++ tutorial to demonstrate the structure of the C++ program, and then to see how we can compile and run the program with CodeBlock IDE and GCC compiler. Thank you very much. On the next tutorial, we will see about the different C++ statements.